PFTPM posse. Can Congress also hold Daniel Snyder accountable for those horrible and creepy Six Flags commercials from like the 90s with that weird dude in old face doing all the weird dancing moves? Nightmare fuel in parentheses. I think that was about 15 years ago, and I think it was when Daniel Snyder owned Six Flags, and that did not go well for Daniel Snyder. Maybe the best thing about Daniel Snyder's tenure as the owner of the Six Flags amusement park was those commercials with the old guy dancing frenetically. Here's another question from PFTPM Posse, hopefully slightly less facetious than the first. Could a player's lawyer argue that they preemptively filed a lawsuit opposing NFL punishment because they knew what the punishment would be already, and because of simultaneous submission by the NFL, it's their only chance? That's basically what Ezekiel Elliott did. Ezekiel Elliott filed a case in Texas, favorable forum, and won on the merits, lost ultimately on the argument that he filed his lawsuit too quickly. You have to be able to say you filed your lawsuit once the controversy had matured. And the problem is the NFL always has that inside information, as I said yesterday, as to when to go ahead and file the lawsuit, because the NFL knows when the decision is going to be finalized. Another one from PFTPM Posse. Looking and thinking back, are you glad that the OG PFTPM posse was able to convince you to keep doing PFTPM after you threatened to quit the week of April 20, 2018? Happy coincidence it was during the week of 420. And how is the KISS jersey? Oh, that's the little passive aggressive. Hey, we bought you a signed KISS jersey. Go back and give us free content. Look, there was a time, and I'll peel back the curtain. What the hell? We're all friends here for the most part. PFTPM was launched while I was doing PFT Live as a radio show with a simulcast on NBCSN. And it was something at first I just dabbled in for fun. Someone at Westwood One began to encourage me to do PFTPM on a daily basis, on a regular basis, with the idea that if you build it, they will come. If you do it, it will become some sort of profitable enterprise. And I started doing it, and it frankly never became a profitable enterprise, at least not at the time. Different story more recently, but that's the backstory on all that. So I didn't make a whole lot of money doing PFTPM back in the old days when it was audio only. I enjoyed doing it, though. It was fun to talk with no real limits or guidance or agenda. Just whatever happened to come up, came up. So long story bearable, there was a profit motive to the original old school PFTPM that was audio only. It just never quite came to fruition, even though I was led to believe that it would. I still did it anyway because, hey, I got the signed KISS jersey out of it, and I got that going for me, as Bill Murray once said, which is nice. Here's a question sent to us by PFTPM Posse, but originating with @Tyler Herger. If Judge Sue Robinson recommends no punishment, does that mean Deshaun Watson gets no suspension and the NFL will hand Robinson her 120 days notice of discharge? If Robinson recommends any punishment, does that mean the union will hand her a 120-day notice of discharge? No, I think if she would find no punishment whatsoever and no appeal and cuts off the ability of Roger Goodell to do anything, I think the NFL would be inclined to potentially exercise its right to hire a new disciplinary officer. I don't think the union will get rid of Judge Robinson just based upon the fact that she issues any suspension. You can't do that. In response to every case, the loser can't say, fire the judge, let's go get another one. And I think the biggest concern is if she allows the argument based upon the suspension or lack thereof imposed on Daniel Snyder, Robert Kraft, and Jerry Jones, if she allows that to become basically 3 trials within the Deshaun Watson trial, sort of, that's when I think the NFL would say, maybe we have the wrong person in this job, because it shouldn't be about these owners. It should be about Deshaun Watson. Another question. Neil watches PFT. and we appreciate that very much. Day 2 of the Watson disciplinary hearings. Have you heard any leaks from Watson's camp or NFL PA representatives of what the talks were like? This goes back to what I said earlier. Everyone is keeping their mouths shut. And I think that is at the direct behest of Judge Robinson. And the fact that they're doing it shows that they do respect her and they respect the process, which is good news for everyone. Manuel Villa, are we to assume that the woman suing the Texans is one of the 4 women that did not settle with Watson, or can a plaintiff double dip in a civil case? And moving forward, can we expect any case involving the Texans to include Watson as well? Good question. Good question. I don't know whether or not the person who sued the Texans on Monday has already sued Deshaun Watson. But if you've already sued Deshaun Watson, you just amend your complaint and you add the Texans as a defendant. The fact that this lawsuit was set up as, and I can't remember the name of the plaintiff, versus the Texans without Watson mentioned, I'm going to guess that she hasn't already sued Deshaun Watson. And maybe what they're going to do is force the Texans to join Deshaun Watson as a third-party defendant. See, this is where it becomes law nerd stuff pretty quickly. But what happens here, for those who haven't settled with Deshaun Watson, claims against the Texans will result in the Texans saying to Deshaun Watson, you're responsible for this, not us. You're responsible for your criminal misconduct. We're not responsible for it. And if you're the plaintiff, you love a case like that because you just sit back and you let the 2 defendants fight it out. The Texans will be saying, it's not our fault, it's his fault. Now, I don't know what Deshaun Watson would say. He's not going to say it's not my fault, it's their fault, because their fault flows from his behavior. But you would like to have the Texans blaming Deshaun Watson. The smart move, if you're 2 different defendants who are being pursued by the same plaintiff, is to find a way to work together and have what we would call a united front among the 2 parties pushing back against the plaintiff. I don't know if the Texans are going to want to do that, because then you're signing on to his defense too. So I have a feeling, and again, I like doing this because it forces me to slow down and think about things a little bit more thoroughly. I have a feeling that this individual is not one of the people who has sued Deshaun Watson, and this person is forcing the Texans to sue Deshaun Watson. Wouldn't that be something? Doesn't that create a different vibe, a different headline? For somebody who just has a very casual understanding of the legal system, if there's a headline on other media outlets, Texans sue Deshaun Watson, wow. Doesn't that give it more credibility? It's one thing for some person that, you say, oh, it's all a big money grab. There's too many people involved for it to be a conspiracy. I will repeat that every day that I have to until people understand. You cannot hold a conspiracy like that together for 15 months and counting. But boy, if it's Texans suing Deshaun Watson, that just has a different vibe to it. That has a different feel to it. And that may be where this latest case that was filed on Monday is heading. Neil watches PFT. When PFT is on hiatus, does Chris just live in a month-long fog? I think he's been doing his podcast. I think he's been. He's around. He's productive. He's a productive member of society. He's just not, sitting there with a bong for 30 days. I don't think you could do it for 30 days. I mean, I couldn't do it for 30 seconds, but I don't think you could do it for 30 days. Not that I'm an expert in those matters, but I think he's doing other things. Ashley Riddler, have you sorted out your passport yet? You'll need to if you want to escape to us in the UK. Also, more fun topic than the rest of the legalese you're having to churn out. If you had a chance to bring in a new NFL rule or change a current rule, which one would it be? Well, Ashley, if you read Playmakers, and hopefully you will if you haven't already, and anyone out there that's familiar with what we do at all knows that the rule that I hate more than anything is the rule that makes a fumble by the offense that goes out of bounds in the end zone. The result being the defense gets the ball on their own 20. That makes no sense to me. If the ball goes out of bounds at the 1-inch line, the offense has possession at the spot of the fumble. The fact that it goes into the end zone should not change that. If the defense recovers it, fine. But the idea that the end zone is some sort of holy ground, that if you just accidentally drop the ball into it and it goes out of bounds, it goes to defense. Why? What's the defense done to deserve possession of the ball? Nothing. So that was the one change that I would make. if I had the opportunity to do so, a fumble by an offensive player short of the goal line that goes into the end zone and then out of bounds becomes the possession of the offense at the spot of the fumble, just like it would if the ball went out of bounds at the 1. Paul Good, where is Frank Clark in his legal issues, and why was he never placed on the commissioner exempt list? It feels like this was brushed under the carpet. He wasn't placed on the commissioner exempt list because even though felony charges will get you placed on paid leave, it's got to be a felony charge involving some sort of element of violence, an assault, a battery, something like that. Just for any old felony charge, that doesn't get you put on paid leave. And I don't know where the status is of his case. It's a weapons charge in Los Angeles. I think he allegedly had possession of an Uzi or something along those lines. I don't know where that stands, but obviously it's not just something that magically goes away. There's either going to be a plea or there's going to be a trial, or they find some, magical evidence out of nowhere, like in My Cousin Vinny. Maybe the state decides to dismiss all charges, as the prosecutor said at the end of the movie. I think that it's still pending, and I think it's something that's going to have to be dealt with by Clark at some point. Zach McDermott, is Neil Watch's PFT a burner account used to ensure that there's always a backlog of questions? No, I have no burner account. And I know, oh, sure you don't. Sure, Jan. I have no burner account. There's no value in having a burner account. And I guarantee you, if I had a burner account, I would pull a Skip Bayless and screw it up at some point. Remember when he did that? He had some burner account and he started posting compliments to himself accidentally through his main account. There is nothing good that comes from having a burner account, because sooner or later you will be burned by your burner account. I am not nearly sufficiently savvy enough to remember to shift to the right account when it's time to, and I just don't care. Like, there's just no need for it. So no, Neil Watch's PFT is an actual person. It is not affiliated with PFT in any way, shape, or form. And Neil Watch's PFT has another question. How was the PFT meeting of the minds? Everyone was here Monday and Tuesday. Miles, Shireen, MDS, and Josh. We spent, some of us did because Josh was still traveling. We had lunch on Monday afternoon. We got together for dinner on Monday night. We were hanging out here for a while, not here. We were outside. Yesterday, we had a nice lunch at a golf club close to town, just on the outskirts of town. We went to the shooting range nearby where we shot some skeet for a while, and then we came back here. And I got to give them credit. Anytime there was downtime, they worked. And it's not like I told them, hey, we got some downtime, you better go work. Anytime that they had downtime, it was just like any other day. And we kept putting out content because they understand that this never sleeps and it's a fun job. I hope they think it's fun. I know it's fun for me. We had a good couple of days. And I don't want to say in a public setting that no business was discussed, because I don't want to jeopardize the write-off. I mean, we did discuss the Deshaun Watson case and different things about how we handle things. And so there was business discussed that way. It was just kind of like brainstorming sessions, but it wasn't like it was some sort of a business meeting with any real agenda. It was just, let's get together. We rarely see each other. There's value in spending some time together, because most of the time we just text each other, and only do we ever get together at the Super Bowl. This is the one exception. Let's see what else we have. Max with a bunch of numbers after his name. What would it take for Deshaun Watson to be voted for a league award, Pro Bowl, All-Pro team after all of this? Well, now a league award is voted on by the media. Would the media set aside this behavior and make a decision based solely on his on-field performance? I don't know why not. Pro Bowl, 1/3 players, 1/3 coaches, 1/3 media. No, fans, excuse me. Would fans hold it against him? I could see a lot of Browns fans mobilizing to get him in. They got Peyton Hillis on the cover of Madden, for crying out loud, a decade ago. I don't think coaches or players are going to hold it against him. Look, there is value in putting this behind you and moving forward. And once it's behind you and you move forward, people focus on what comes next. Ben Roethlisberger was able to put a similar situation behind him 12 years ago. So I think the only thing that becomes an issue is Hall of Fame. If he's a borderline case, and well, you missed all of 2021, and I know they're not supposed to consider off-field issues, but it's a close case. It could be enough to make people make a stronger argument against him based upon his credentials. No, I'm not arguing he shouldn't be in based upon the off-field issues. I'm just arguing that he wasn't good enough statistically. He didn't win enough championships, didn't win any championships, whatever the case may be. So I could see at some point it being an issue for his Hall of Fame candidacy if he otherwise has a career good enough to get there. But I just don't think it affects in any way, shape, or form any short-term awards. If he plays again, and I assume he will, and he plays well enough, he should get whatever benefits flow from that performance. All right, I need to wrap this up. Just looking to see if there's anything else here. And here's the question: when is PFT Live back? Again, July 25. We'll see you then, but we'll see you before then. Here's a question from Cody Marmon. Outside of Todd Bowles, because he has Tampa Tom, which first-year head coach is in the best situation, and why is it Nathaniel Hackett? I don't know that Nathaniel Hackett's in the best situation of a first-year head coach. The expectations are a little bit unrealistic for the Broncos. And I don't know how Russell Wilson's going to do in an offense where he's the centerpiece. He has wanted to be the centerpiece for a long time. The Seahawks resisted making him the centerpiece. The Seahawks would very much like to be proven right with respect to the reality that they didn't make him a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. This is the straw that stirs the drink at all times. But I don't know that it's a great spot. And also, you're going to have a new owner, too. And I don't care what anyone says. New owners like to hire their own people. And Nathaniel Hackett's going to have to prove himself to this new ownership group if he wants to be the coach of that team for a long time. I like the situation Josh McDaniels is in, even though it's a ridiculously competitive division. I think the bar is a little bit lower, but they've got some pretty good talent, and it'll be interesting to see what he does in his second act. And also, when you're looking for low expectations, coupled with a team that's potentially pretty good, Kevin O'Connell's not in a bad spot. They've got some weapons on offense. They're going to be much more creative offensively. It's going to be a pass-happy offense. I mean, think about what they did offensively with a curmudgeonly coach who was a Bill Parcells disciple who wanted to play defense and run the ball. You unlock the potential of this offense as a passing enterprise. And you look at the NFC where it's the Bucs and it's the Rams and the Packers, but Devontae Adams is gone, and what have they really done to replace him? And there's an opportunity there for the Vikings to make some noise. So I think Kevin O'Connell may have fallen into a pretty good spot with the Vikings, with the talent that they have. And I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen big overhaul. You know, a lot of these teams come in, coaches come in, new regimes come in, and they get rid of everybody because we want our own people. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell show up and they look around. It's like, hey, what the hell? We got a pretty good team here. And maybe the team thrived for reasons unrelated to talent. Maybe the team thrived because of dysfunction, because of coaching, and that may not be a bad spot for Kevin O'Connell.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.